Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be talking about the $250 starter fragrances collection, or my choices for if I was going to start a collection with $250, what would I choose? So stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. So this is a little bit of an older series. A lot of people have done this. And I decided that I would also do this series, and I might do one for niche fragrances as well. As you'll notice, these are mostly designer or cheaper fragrances to give you a good selection, but of high quality fragrances for inexpensive prices, and to cover really all of the occasions that you really need to cover. And I will say I used discounter websites, so things like fragrancebuy.ca, FragranceNet, and FragranceX. Personally, I bought from all of these sites before with no problem, so I'm happy or content to use them. And I did a little search to see what was available and how much the things would cost. So I will get into it, and I'll talk about, a little bit about the fragrance and the reason why I chose it, because I didn't just choose a fragrance because it was good. I wanted it to be able to fit a certain gap in the collection. So the first one is actually going to be Dolce Gabbana, the One EDP. Now I did see this price. It was $45 for a 50 ml, which is actually quite a bit of fragrance, even though this one isn't the most long lasting. That's well known about this one. But it's this very beautiful, seductive, aromatic tobacco fragrance. Reminds me really of like walking into a high class cigar store or something like that. So very nice, high quality, and it is one that is very, very mass appealing. This one is a little bit more expensive. It's one of the most expensive ones on the list. I do think it is worth it because it fills a good gap for very versatile. So fall, winter, you can wear this one virtually any time. Depending on the weather, you could probably wear it in the spring as well. I wouldn't usually wear it in the summer, but definitely in the evening if it's cooler. It would work really, really well. Of course, if you're in climate control, I've worn this one to the office, and it's inoffensive, it's very likable, and it is really one of those 10 out of 10 designer fragrances. So primarily versatile fragrance that does tend to get used for date nights, but really can be used for just about anything. That's the One EDP. I think the EDP is worth it over the EDT for me. I actually don't even like the EDT. When I tried it, I did find it not so great. So the EDP lasts a little longer, it's a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, and it does fill that gap. Next one. Now this is one that a lot of people may like or may not like, but it is one that I think if you want something vetiver, something with a little bit of a masculine touch, definitely a more traditional masculine fragrance that is still unique, this is a good choice. So Encre Noire Sport. This one you can get for like $23. I think it was actually for 100 ml that I saw this for, which is a lot, because you don't need to spray tons of this one. You can probably go 3-4 sprays easily and be good for the day. So it has good longevity. It is a little bit darker, a little bit more mysterious, and it does have a very nice earthy vetiver that changes into an almost marshy kind of grassy vibe that I really like. When this one dries down, also, it does get a little bit of a soapy quality that sometimes vetiver can have. So I think it's a really good one for the summer, although I think you could wear it year round, but it's just a good casual wear. You could wear it dressed up a little bit more formally if you want, because it is, it does have that masculine quality with that vetiver and with that darkness, so it is nice that way. So that is the next one on the list. Now, next on the list, this is the most expensive one, but one that I do love and one that I have talked about a lot. And I think, everybody wants sort of a fresh and clean fragrance, and this is one of the two that I picked on for this list, and that is Terre de Hermes Eau Très Fraîche. Now, the price that I found was $52 for 75 ml, which I think is still very much worth it. I think it's a fantastic, versatile, easy to wear, different fresh fragrance. It's a little bit of that aquatic nature and that lovely tart bitter orange that personally I love. I love that aspect of the fragrance, and so that is something I really, really enjoy. And again, it has that nice masculine vetiver. It does have a little bit of an aquatic vibe in the opening, but it's a great spring summer fragrance that you can wear anytime. So it's your versatile spring summer fragrance. Now, next on the list is something that is, I guess, maybe your bad boy or manly, macho kind of fragrance, which of course has a time and a place, and it is one that you can wear. You could wear on dates. It's a little bit more risky, but if you want to exude that kind of personality, or even a night out, it's definitely better for fall, winter, and that's Dark Rebel Rider. Now, I decided to go with a Rider instead of Dark Rebel. I heard Dark Rebel had been discontinued, and I still think it's a really good fragrance. But being that it's discontinued, I try to avoid using those fragrances. It is getting a little harder to find from what I saw. Some of the pages I looked at was sold out. I don't know if they're going to get more or what the case is. This one still very cheap, so $32 I found this one for. And Dark Rebel Rider is actually really, really good. I tried it the other day and I was very surprised because I'd heard a lot of people say that they don't like it in contrast to Dark Rebel. And in a lot of ways, at least from the time that I tried it, I would actually say it's potentially better. So it has this really, really nice tobacco. The tobacco stands out quite a bit to my nose. And it has that leather and rum. It has the Dark Rebel vibe, but it has a little bit more going on, a little bit more nuance. And still manages to be, that leather jacket kind of fragrance that I think that Dark Rebel is. So this is another really good one to give you a little bit of variety fall winter, but it is also one that can be worn on nights out or whatever. It's, as I say, the leather jacket fragrance. I think it just goes really good. Now the next one on the list is another one from Lalique. So Lalique, if you look on discounters, you can find a lot of their fragrances for very, very inexpensive, and they do actually have some good ones. And this is the most fresh and clean one, in my opinion. This is a really good office fragrance, and you can find it for $18. I found it for $18. I think it was 50 ml, and it is Lalique White. Now, to give you a short story of it, this apparently, or does smell a little bit like Galloway from Parfums de Marly, which is one of my favorite fragrances from Parfums de Marly, and this one actually came first. So you have that sort of clean, musky vibe with a little bit of pepper, and so it does come off fresh and clean with a little bit extra something to give it a little bit more character. And I think this is a nice office one because it does have that fresh, clean vibe to it, but that pepper gives it a little bit of an edge and does make it smell like something that I think a boss or an employer would most certainly wear. So it does have that sort of vibe to it. Something good for the office that's just going to keep you smelling fresh and clean. The next one, I was surprised to see this one for so cheap, but also happy at the same time. Very tempted to buy this one myself because I was really impressed with the decant that I bought. And that would be Toy Boy by Moschino. Now, this one was one that was talked about a lot in since its release in 2019. It's sort of a spicy rose fragrance, a little bit fresh, so I think it is perfect for the spring. You could wear it still in the summer. It might work in the fall too because it does have a little bit of that spice to it. And it is more of a sort of a metrosexual fragrance, but it is different. It's something to wear to smell different. And it manages to be a rose fragrance without coming off particularly feminine, and it's done really uniquely. So I really appreciate that about it. Designers, there's always going to be trends. I mean, I think we got to understand there's always going to be trends in fragrance or in anything, clothing lines, whatever, and those trends are going to be jumped on by a lot of corporations. I was impressed and excited about Toy Boy because it breaks the mold. So it does a designer fragrance, which quite frankly I think is quite mass appealing, but it does it differently. It doesn't go for that Sauvage, Bleu de Chanel kind of DNA. It manages to do something different and still maintain a really nice profile and be unique and still be appealing to wear. And I think it's an easy, fresh kind of spicy rose fragrance to actually wear. And for people that are kind of on the edge about rose, whether they want to try it or wear it, I would suggest this as a really nice choice to really try out. I'm not a huge rose fan, but I do really enjoy that fragrance. Now the last two are from a cologne house. I really thought when I was originally making this list that I would just pick a bunch of colognes from niche fragrances. But the more I looked into it, the more I thought about it. I mean, that is one route you can go if you really want a variety of, really good quality colognes that are of niche fragrances. This is one way to totally do it for sure. I wanted to try and just stay away from that a little bit, just to try and do something a little bit more unique. But in the end, there were very few things that I really felt were going to be worth putting on this list that were left over. I did consider having the last spot as Versace Pour Homme, but there's already Terre de Hermes Ultra Fresh. There's already Lalique White. Not that they smell identical or even the same, but they are similar occasions. Those fresh, clean fragrance that you can wear in the very similar occasions. So I decided to not put that one on the list and instead go for two clones. Now, one of them is not a clone. It's actually an original from Cologne House, Genre. So I love Genre. I think they're great. I think they have good value. The only thing that sucks is it is a little bit hard to order from them, but I do really like what they have to put out. So the first one actually is just a 15 ml. So they do come in a bunch of different sizes. There's a 15 ml of an original, and that is Apples and Aces. And this is definitely the more challenging, I guess, fragrance of the list. Not that I find it particularly challenging myself, but I think it is one that's not going to be as appealing, although a lot of people I know do really, really love this one. It is a lot different. So, it has this really nice boozy apple opening that goes and opens up into this really lovely smoky tobacco and dries down into this very fluffy kind of vanilla fragrance. So it's a very complex fragrance that changes a lot over time. And I think that's what I think a lot of people or makes it a little bit more challenging, is there's a lot to digest with that fragrance. It's not so straightforward. Not that either of those things are bad, but I do appreciate it for that, and I think it's great fall, winter. You could wear this one easily, especially when it's going through that sort of smoky transition. I think it's really, really nice for a formal occasion. And, it is something that you could wear more casually as well. But definitely when it's doing that transition through the opening and the mid, it's so good for a formal occasion because it's unique, it stands out, and it has a lot of class and character to it. Now the last one is actually a cologne. It's a 30 ml. I believe it costs $25. The Apples and Aces, by the way, $15 for 15 ml. This is Virtuoso, which is a nice interpretation of Italica by Xerjoff. And it is $25 for a 30 ml. Now, I wanted this primarily because I didn't really have a gourmand on this list. And I love gourmands, wanted to have one, and this is one of the best ones, Italica that is. Now this interpretation is fairly close, but as I've said before in my review of this fragrance, the opening is definitely different. You get sort of a semi-fresh cherry kind of vibe with that creamy, almondy, milky vibe that Italica has and is really really well known for. But then once this gets into the mid and the dry down, it's really, really similar with that beautiful, creamy, sensual, almondy, sort of biscuit kind of vibe that I really, really love that fragrance for. So that's it. That is the total, or that is the beginner collection, if you will, that I would personally choose, at least right now. The total, $247. Yes, all of this is in US dollars. And I think this covers every base. It's got the date fragrance, it's got your fresh and clean fragrance, it's got your casual fragrance, it's got the unique fragrance, it's got the formal occasion, and it has that nice sensual gourmand fragrance as well. So it really hits all your bases. If you just want a little bit of variety that covers each occasion, you don't need tons of fragrances. Of course, if you get into collecting, you can end up very easily with a lot of fragrances, but to have a nice base of solid fragrances that even now, and that's the thing, I try to pick fragrances that I would still wear having a larger collection, because there's all kinds of cheap fragrances you can buy that personally, now that I have more fragrances, I probably wouldn't wear them. These are all fragrances that I still enjoy. And that even now with collections and niche fragrances and all kinds of things, I would absolutely still pick these ones out and still wear these ones. So they're ones, and I think that's the big thing. If you're starting a collection, you want to try and pick fragrances not just to build up quantity, but fragrances that are going to be things that you'll still pick up and reach for and use. Otherwise, ultimately, unless you just want to collect and have a bunch of fragrances, you end up kind of wasting that money. So that's kind of the way I think about it, and that's the way I designed this list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you found it helpful. And if there's anything you would put on this list, leave a comment down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.